I feel like in my career, I've lived through almost three eras of design. And the three eras of design are there's the kind of the Apple period. And the Apple period was when I think that we all knew it, but design was suddenly understood or taken serious, and people got the fact, which is that business, if you focus on the user and focus on experience, then you are able to engage with consumers in a completely different way. And I think that that changed. It changed they did a huge service to the design industry, Apple did, because it changed the way that we were able to leverage design to make better products. And so then it rolls into, but I think the world was very quick to catch up with that idea when they saw the benefits. So I think business saw the benefits of, and then there's the second phase, the second era, which is the era of the startup. And there was this period where suddenly there were startups everywhere. And I think this is, of course, is on the back of the fact there was an acceleration in technology. We all had computers in our pockets. And how on earth can we utilize that technology in other ways? And so I think there were all these startups sprung up around, I think, just extending technology in our lives and utilizing the modern cell phone. And so, but then I think that, and how that seemed to, for me, it appears to have sadly petered out a little. And the reason why I think it's petered out a little is to do with the third era, which is the Amazon era. And Amazon's been around for a long time, but I think it's really suddenly making a huge, it's only been in the recent years that it's actually made a significant impact, and an impact on design. And I'd say an impact on innovation, which is that I think there's been a shift from people yearning for experience and design into, I think, prioritizing cost or price and speed of delivery, which is that, basically I want to have this now, and I don't want to spend so much money on it. And that has, I think, created a little bit of an existential question for the profession of design, because experience has taken probably third seat in that equation. What the other thing it's done to design is that, in regards to kind of technologies that we use, there's been a lot of pressure on design to continually speed up our process. And they've given us tools, and our render tools, our CAD tools, our prototyping tools, they've all accelerated to help us, I think, achieve these goals. But one of the, I think, kind of the key problems is that even though all those tools have speeded up, I think the designer needs time to contemplate. And that is where I'm seeing a problem. And that's why I'm seeing, I think, also less innovation than I used to seeing in my career.
There is a democratization of delivery that Amazon has given people, right? AWS, being on the Amazon store is now really accessible to anybody. And we are seeing some folks taking advantage of that there's a level playing field, obviously, in the good and in the bad, right?
That's right.
But
that's what I think you're right. It goes to is the fact that I think you're dead right, which is there's a democracy that's been created in the product world, and the fact that manufacturing has become accessible to anybody has been is somewhat liberating, and liberating to designers, where you see designers that not only design now, but are heading companies, owning companies. It's not something that was definitely accessible at the beginning of my career. But then the bad side to it is that I think there's a hesitation. I recognize a hesitation within some companies to invest in innovation, knowing which is that there are going to be somebody very, very quickly is going to copy them, and maybe even be the same factory that you are manufacturing with will then also ship directly through those channels to market. And so it makes it hard to justify that return on investment to some organizations. I also think, which is that there's been, or something I recognize, which is that the entire industry is star driven, which is that everybody is searching for the perfect number of the 5 stars, the 4 to 5 stars on their product reviews. And what that has also meant is that there's a hesitation to bring something new to market, or to innovate, or to take a chance or a risk, because if you upset somebody, then it can significantly affect your sales. There's a lot more focus around just iterating on what we have in search of better and better reviews, because those reviews lead to higher sales. But again, that's, I think, is something I see which has affected true innovation and the drive to innovation, especially, when I go back towards the era at the beginning I was talking about of my career, which was the Apple era, when it was all about design thinking, and then into the Kickstarter era, which was truly about trying to innovate and have little ideas come to market. I'm not seeing as much of that.
The designers of the world in 2023 are also much more brand creators, because the brand ultimately goes beyond the 5-star review, right? Because it gives you the longevity of an engagement or an experience that people yearn for. And, like, there's people that, on the premium level, I think brands become much more important. When I mean brand in a greater context of a product brand, right? Not as a PR brand, but I think that out-of-box experience, brand touch points, like visual brand language, is really the new Apple play, right? Like, more and more people, Google and other folks are kind of building these more comprehensive, cohesive ecosystems.
And that's where I think I agree. That's exactly where I think the secret is, because I also think there's a pendulum that swings within these trends, and I think that there's going to be a point where people are going to, because there is so much that is being generated, and it's incredibly difficult to navigate a purchasing decision these days, that I think there's going to be a pendulum swift back to more curated approaches to products. And I think a lot of because of the plethora of products which come from all sorts of places, aren't with quality not at their forefront, I think that it's going to create, there's going to be a point where I think the market becomes tired of that. And I see some signs of that already. And that's when it's going to swing. And I think investment in brands is absolutely critical, so that people have confidence in what they're purchasing. And I also think there's another narrative, which is that, I think that there's a general narrative about the fact that outside of design, which is we're concerned about the environment, we're concerned about global warming, we're concerned about increasing numbers of storms which are hitting us. And I think that there's a direct correlation between that and how wasteful we are. And so I think there's going to be a swing back towards more quality products, or spending more products or more of your income on something that does something well and lasts for a lot longer. I think that is definitely going to, and should be bubbling to the surface right now. And that's where I think brands have a huge play.
Right. So I think, as a creator, as a designer, you also, are much more in investing in kind of not only one product, but like a product line, a product roadmap, a product DNA. Can you talk about how you communicate that with the world? I mean, I think you're one of the masters of that. And how do you extend that to like packaging and out-of-box experience and marketing communications? Like, how do you take that kernel that you created, and like, how do you communicate? What's your secret sauce there?
I've learned the hard way, which is that we have to be very careful when creating DNA that you just don't back yourself into a corner. You say, this is how it is, and this is how it's always going to be, you know, and because we live in a world where we never really know what the future is, and we have to create brands and DNA which is future proof. I think brand and DNA is actually a discussion within a group of people who are firing in the same direction, and we create like an idea or a philosophy or a projection as to what we are trying to do, and from there, that I think is, and I think in all great brands, I think you can boil it back to somebody's vision, and it's just a continuation and an evolvement of that vision. So I don't actually see DNA. I typically don't see DNA as like a visual element. I think that the end result can be, but I see it more as a philosophy, and when you take it on as a philosophy, I think it allows it to constantly evolve and move with the times. It's, for me, it's that simple. And like I say, I've learned that the hard way.
That's really good advice. I mean, I think you're right. You have to start with the nucleus, right? And that nucleus has to be an idea almost, right?
Yes, yeah. Yeah. I think when you try to, like, you know, I've always been asked a lot of times to try, when creating brand DNA, I typically enter into this discussion as to, people are typically looking for, you know, is it red? Is it got rounded corners? Has it got square corners? What is it? And like that I don't think we should be having that discussion. And that is the end result. And there's no reason why things can't evolve or take a sharp left or right corner, because we have to move with paradigm shifts that happen in the world. I think designers are a lot more strategic than I think a lot of people would have them believe, which is that we're always working with, you know, we're thinking about a story as to where this product is going. And like we were talking about a second ago, there's a philosophy, and we're thinking about how that philosophy manifests itself, not only just now, 5 years, 10 years. And designers are always thinking in this way. And you have to have that kind of 10-year vision. And I'm not talking about a 10-year vision, which is just purely about your sales or revenue. I'm talking about where you want to be as an organization, because again, paradigm shifts outside of your organization will could kill your business in a second. And I think that's where design steps in. I feel like we're spiraling in on ourselves, which is that we aren't innovating, we aren't thinking about what things could be. We're just thinking, and we're always asking the consumer, what is it that you know, what is it do you want to buy? But I don't know if it's necessarily what they want as a life or what they are aspiring to. I mean, I think about this with paradigm shifts. I mean, we talk about the classic example of the Ford with the car and the horse, and asking people, you know, you just wanted the faster horse. I feel like Amazon is a little bit like that, which is because we're receiving so much data about what people like, we're kind of honing in on these elements, and we're kind of we're spiraling in on ourselves. And I think that design offers an opportunity to say, like, hold on, we need to aspire to a better future. There are elements outside of just the business that we need to consider, such as the environment, such as external trends. Having design in a leadership position helps a company navigate that a lot better, and also provides, I think, sometimes a counter argument. It's very easy when you have all the people in the room that are all on the same page. I think it's always very, very healthy to have somebody who can create like an opposing idea, just to create like a little bit more of a lively debate, and also for us always to check ourselves, which is that that we're going in the right direction and we haven't missed a trick. And so again, I think that having design representation in the boardroom or the C-suite, I think is critical to the future health of any organization.
I agree. I mean, I think design is really giving you a new perspective. And you know, one thing I learned from you many years ago, and it really informed my thinking of design, is that designers are the only folks that actually use surprise and use kind of mistakes as a fodder for creation, right? Like,
Right.
and I think that is a real strong power. You know, how many times in a design project have you just run into some sort of mistake and that ultimately became kind of the winning design direction, right?
Because mistakes, which are, as you just mentioned, you know, is inherent in our process, and we are actually very, very comfortable with something not working out because we always learn something
Right.
from that.
Exactly.
But in the world of business, that's seen as there's some inefficiency in it, which
Right.
is did what just happened, and is this going to take us longer to do this, and it's going to we're going to get longer to market, etc. And so I think this is also, which is why we've become quite conservative in our product offerings and kind of like honing in on this, creating and just refining what is currently out there. But yeah, it's unfortunate, but again, you're dead right, which is that this is what is, I think, is important, which is important about having design to ask those questions and defend a little bit of that investigation, so we can create a better world tomorrow.
Right. And I think, as you said, like as designers embrace mistakes in the creative process, organizations, ops-driven organizations penalize mistakes
That's right.
because they're really driving inefficiencies. But ultimately, the mistake is sometimes what really changes your business model, what disrupts your business model, what makes you a better company. And I think that leaders have to understand that is really a key driver in innovation is mistakes.
Right. Absolutely. It's an inherent critical part
It is.
of
Yeah,
innovation.
exactly. And then really, as an organization, you have to build metrics around mistakes and learning from mistakes and not, you know, building them as a kind of a fault process that has to be eliminated.
Yes, yeah.
So Johnny Ives famously partnered with OpenAI and SoftBank to build, I would say, I mean, you worked at Nokia, so you really came, I mean, you came out of really the golden era of cell phones getting disrupted by what I would call a new era, which is the smartphone era. And we might actually see in our lifetime the evolution out of that era with what's happening right now with AI. What role do designers play, not only leveraging, but shaping kind of this evolving technologies, especially around the narrative of, you know, AI and kind of, you know, machine learning? Where do you see, I'm not saying as a tool to use it, but as an architect, where is the place of designers in the future of AI system creation?
The kind of narrative around AI, what I read about AI is people being really scared of AI. And I am of the opposite camp, which is that, you know, I've always been, I think that new technologies always threaten, but I always think in the long run they liberate. And so if you take that approach, I think that from the start, I don't quite know how the cards are going to fall on AI. And what the true implications are. I think a lot of people are thinking all of the worst case scenarios. I don't think it's going to be like that at all. I think it's going to find its home, and it's going to be incredibly useful across numerous professions. I think that it's going to be incredibly valuable to design. But I would say, which is that I think it's, for my thoughts on it is that I think it's still going to be how it affects designers. That I think it can start to help us, like it helps other industries automate certain areas which are, you know, possibly can be tedious in the design process, and then perhaps hopefully give designers more time to think, which is what, you know, I was talking about earlier on. I think we really have been pushed really hard and the processors have suffered from these kind of truncated product development cycles. And so I think that I was hoping that maybe this was able to kind of liberate our ability to have more time to think. But I also think as part of that, which is that I don't necessarily know how well AI is going to be able to ask the question, the what if question, which designers ask a lot. And again, it's this idea of kind of the paradigm shift, which is if we're not happy in the direction we're going, and I think a lot of people were concerned about that, designers are a group of people which ask the question, well, then if we're not happy, then what else can we do? Where else can we go to? And I think that sort of thinking, I think AI would struggle to replicate. So I see it as, I think AI is going to be a wonderful tool. It's already being a wonderful tool. We use it, and I think that it, in regards to kind of flushing out ideas, and it becomes almost like an extra member of our team, to be able to kind of like get to an opinion quickly, or explore something in depth with a lot more vigor. But I think that, and I embrace anything that it brings with it. I truly do. So I think we're going in the right direction. I think it will help us. And I think, also in regards to kind of when I think about AI, perhaps, being able to continue helping us design better cars, safer bridges, more better medicines, etc. There's a lot more positive than I think there could ever be negative towards it. And I just think I think we just all need to embrace it and find its home. That is my general approach to AI, because technology has never done me wrong. I know there's probably a lot of counter arguments to that, but to me, I'm the absolute opposite to a Luddite. I am somebody who embraces technology with open arms and sees the opportunity that it offers.
Mm-hmm. So going back to the whole progression of and maybe it's more like an interface conversation. So I remember famously when you designed the the flip phone that became a single form, and that was never done before. Basically designing a phone as it is used versus a phone as it is stored, which was really the genius around your Nokia work. Then we basically eliminated the keypad, and we went to a multi-touch interface. And really, if you could predict, and when we have to maybe go forward a couple of years and see if our predictions were right, but if you could predict what an AI era phone would be from an interface perspective, what do you see? Is it, how does it evolve? Is it language? Is it prompts? How do you see like that the UX of the future being changed with kind of these generative, like large language models and like just, I would say, prompt driven inputs that really define the world of AI right now?
So, moving forward with phones, I think that I think if you project along the trend, I think that augmented reality is the way forward. I think a lot of people would agree with me on this, and it's the idea, which is that I think that we don't necessarily have to have the phone currently limits us in its form factor. And that's because it's a physical object. I think that augmented reality allows your digital interface to be as large as you want and anywhere all at the same time. And so that's where I think a lot of people are investing in it. I think that it, like the phone did when some of the apps appeared, I think this is going to be this provides a far deeper reach into how technology can impact our lives. So I think that augmented reality is exactly where we're going, and I think that the interfaces will be, and it's actually it's really complicated. The interface on augmented reality. We did some work on this many years ago, and it's a trying to draw the user in a kind of familiar way through something where it's completely virtual is particularly tricky. But I think I think that will evolve very quickly, and I think that it will become seamless. I'm also hoping, which is within augmented reality, which is that I think there's been the phone did something to society at the same time, which is that I think it allowed us to give us the ability to communicate with people at a distance a lot easier. But I think we lost a lot of connections with our people in our local environment or local surroundings. And I think that as we move into augmented reality, where there's a kind of mixture of digital and the environment, I think that this could help perhaps bring some balance back to that world.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. That's excellent. Well, thanks for your thoughts. This was really helpful.